Welcome to the Rangers Rabble Dundee United preview show. My name's Derek Millen. I'll be hosting today, and I'm joined by Wilf. How you doing, mate?
I'm fine, Derek, thanks.
And Cammy, mate. How's things?
Aye, very good, mate.
Good. Thanks very much for coming on this morning. Looking forward to getting a chat with you. It's been a while, so I've been looking forward to that. So obviously we're playing Dundee United tomorrow, but we'll get to that shortly. I just want to maybe look back to the game on Wednesday night quickly. Wilf, what's your thoughts on the overall performance and the 2-0 victory against St Johnstone?
I thought overall we were very, very comfortable. St Johnstone didn't lay a glove on us, really, to be honest. Played some great football. My only frustration, and I think I'm going to have to get used to it with the new management, is that I know he likes to keep the zero, and once we're two up, he's quite happy just to see the game out. And if we score again, we score again. And you know, I'm old school. I want to bury teams every week. I would rather have really gone for it and taken 4, 5, or 6 off them. But if we're going to go 2 up and sit in and finish a game 2-0 every week, I'm going to have to get used to it. I'll be quite happy with that because that one is a league.
So, Cammy, what be? I have to say that I'm a bit like Wilf. I love to see goals. Who doesn't? Right? Who doesn't? But how key is it for us to take these minutes off, as we can call them? Like, we basically in the second half, once Ryan Kent scored, we don't need to spend any energy. That's key for the fixture list coming up, isn't it?
I totally managing the load sort of situation. You know, it is frustrating. I mean, that's Morelos 2-0 the last 2 games. Great if you're a betting person, and that's been your tip for the last couple of games. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe Gio's added to his transfer budget in January, and he's made himself a few quid. No, listen. Ideally, you want to go 4-5. The goal difference is sort of level pegging at the moment, and I think these home games, 3 home games in a week, was an opportunity. And if you can go 2-0, 3-0, 4-0, something like that over the next 7 or 8 days, that would be fine. But okay, it is what it is. I think you would like to score more goals, and I think the likes of Morelos, I think the goal scorer, I think should always be hungry for more goals, never just be happy with one. We lived through Super Ali and scoring 30, 35, 40 goals a season. That's what I would love the Rangers number 9 to get back to doing. But I suppose as long as we're winning 3 points and we keep the run going, we'll just I'll be happy with that. But we always want more. We're all of a similar vintage that we've been used to Rangers teams that have been very, very ruthless and have kept on going. I mean, it happened once or twice with Gerrard that we done it, but by and large we just sort of take the foot off the gas sort of thing, you know. But that may change tomorrow. Tomorrow we might keep the foot on the pedal.
Fingers crossed. Well, I mentioned on Twitter this week that routine wins are just becoming that again. To be fair to Gerrard, he did bring that back to Ibrox to a certain degree. Not to a certain degree, to a great degree last season and slightly again this year. But it's a good feeling going to Ibrox again, and you know, feeling the fear from the opposition, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I mean it's great to be back to the way it used to be when I were a lad, as they say. No, actually not so much when I was a lad, because when I was a lad we were dreadful, but when I was in my sort of late teens, early 20s, when we were winning every week, and it was routine wins. My only concern, and I don't think it will happen, so I don't think the management team will let it happen, is we get complacent. Because I mean, if you look on social media, a lot of fans are getting, well, how many are we going to score? Back to the way it used to be. You know, how many are we going to score today? And if the players start thinking like that, that's when you sort of start slipping up, and we can't afford to slip up. But no, it's Derek, as you say, it's really good to be going to Ibrox thinking, right, we're going to be entertained as well. I mean, okay, it's only 2-0 in the last 2 games, but I mean, the Hearts game was a fabulous game of football, and the game on Wednesday night, it was just we played some superb stuff without particularly bothering their keeper too much. Once the game was done, as Cammy says, we saved the energy, but we still played some absolutely breathtaking football at times.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Cammy, that brings on nicely to that second goal. Talk me through it. What was your thoughts at the time when you were watching?
Very reminiscent of Galatasaray last season, where it started deep in our own half, and just 4, 5, 6 players' involvement. Morelos showing that. I think was it Antwerp who scored a goal last season where he was in that similar right hand channel, and he's managed to lift his head, cross it. Kent takes it perfectly. It's just a multiple player goal. I think that was the phrase that I used when you spoke about it on Twitter a couple of days ago. That's the football that we've got, football players. And it's that's what you want them to be doing against a team that's and I think it put the game to bed just after half time. You've scored just before the break to settle any anxiety going into the break at 0-0, and then you've scored an absolute superb goal. And it should be getting shown, like social media, like see Sky News when they're showing you the goals, they should be properly showing you it from beginning to the ball hitting the back of the net. And apparently Morelos fly kicked the corner flag after he put the.
He did.
Apparently that was his celebration, and I don't know if you can see that in Kent sort of laughing when he's pointing across to Morelos. I don't know if they've clocked it, but I think it's brilliant. It's great to see Morelos back scoring and assisting. And it's just a fantastic goal, and I think we've seen a few over the course of the last few years, but that's certainly, I would say, the Galatasaray game when Tav scored the header is probably on a par with it. But beautiful football, and I think it's exciting because Gio's still not had the time on the training ground with him properly, to properly get his ideas across, so the last few weeks have been very, very positive.
See, that's the thing. Sorry, Derek, before you come in, that's the thing for me. If we stick to playing football, I don't think we'll have any problems. A lot of times, particularly kind of, and against the teams that'll come in and be stuffy, we kind of went down to their level in the past. It was a bit of a battle. And if you're dragged down to battling in against like your Aberdeens and your St Johnstons and your Dundee Uniteds, it does become a bit of a toil. But as long as we keep playing football, pass the ball, we're the best footballing team in the league by a country mile. So as long as we stick to playing football, it's only going to be good stuff at the end of the season.
Yeah, totally agree, Wilf. I think that. Yeah, I totally agree. I think when we're moving the ball and everyone's showing and everyone's on it, I don't think any team touches us. And even in the Europa League, etc., I think when we move the ball, that's when we're at our most dangerous. And I think with Gerrard towards the end, we kind of lost a bit of that, and we're a bit too easy to play against for me. So yeah, it's great to see that Gio's got that back, and long may it continue. Now we'll turn our attentions now to Dundee United on Saturday. Now, first of all, Saturday, 3 p.m. How happy are you?
It'll never catch on. It's a second in relatively short order. I don't think it'll ever catch on. It's actually quite funny because, I mean, that's the way we all grew up. Saturday 3 o'clock kickoffs, and it just seems such an oddity now for that to be a thing. But yeah, it's fantastic to be playing when football's supposed to be played for me. 3 o'clock. I mean, I grew up 3 o'clock on a Saturday, 7:30 on a Wednesday, and that was it. There was no other time.
Yeah.
And it's great. Yeah. The kids will never understand what a good feeling it is.
Nah, it's such a throwback now, isn't it? It's great to see. Obviously your circumstances will dictate about you yourself, but it's good to see the Saturday 3 o'clocks making a comeback, isn't it? Even if it's just short lived.
Aye, no, listen, it's you know the script with regard to my own hospitality experience in recent months, and I always, throughout the whole thing, it was a Saturday at 3 p.m. when I wanted to do that. That's when I'm like, well, that's when football should be played, and it's I think the Hearts game where we lost the late goal, and the 2 games this month, that's the only 3 p.m. kickoffs that we've had at Ibrox this season, so it's great, and folk will be going for a day out, obviously socially distanced and all that sort of stuff, and it's the last game before Christmas and whatever. There's always a good buzz about it. It's very similar to like the crowd atmosphere that you get at a Boxing Day game. There's a bit of feel good, and everybody's excited, although it is obviously interesting times that we're living through at the moment, but Listen, I'm sitting in the house watching it tomorrow, which isn't isn't the best, and I'm not a huge I'm not a huge fan watching the game on the telly, but it is what it is, and somebody will be making use of my ticket tomorrow, and that's all that matters. And the team put a performance on, and we got another 3 points.
Yeah, good stuff. So also, well, we'll just come on to that. You think me and Cammy rehearsed this before we start? We honestly don't, but obviously Dundee, Dundee United. It's just when I'm back. It's just more professional, Cammy. Let's just be honest. Now, Dundee United will have had the COVID issues. Now, I'll ask you a question. I'll know your answer, but I'll ask you anyway. They went to Newcastle on a Christmas night out. They've then returned COVID tests. We're not exactly quite sure how many, but training had to be cancelled. Do you have any sympathy for Dundee United, and should the game go ahead tomorrow?
Absolutely no sympathy for them, and the game should 100% go ahead. If they've got enough players to fill the team that have got negative PCR tests, then absolutely they should be fulfilling the fixture. Irrespective of whether they went to Newcastle or not, that should be the way. If you've got enough players to play the fixture, play the fixture.
Cammy, same.
Listen, there's nothing I can really add to it. There's no guarantee that obviously going to Newcastle has resulted in the positive test, but I do question the thought process in this current climate. And I'm sure the Rangers players, the Celtic players, I'm sure there's a lot of players are choking on a good Christmas night out, but they can't. You just have to be. You can't compare it to somebody that's working in Asda or somebody that's working in Tesco's going on a Christmas night out. These guys, it's just too risky for me, and it's surprising that there hasn't been any additional sort of comment from Dundee United or even within their local press to give. I was doing a bit of searching last night trying to glean a bit of information, and there's nothing out there. The Rangers press conference hasn't happened yet. I was hoping that was going to be early morning before we recorded, so you could at least get an idea, because my worry is that you get to like 5 o'clock and then they come up with, there's been 17 positive tests and the game's postponed sort of situation, but yeah. I don't have any sympathy for Dundee United. If they've got enough players to fulfil the fixture, then the match happens and we get another 3 points. That's the way that we've been treated, and that's the way other teams have been treated, so there has to be consistency, but this is Scottish football, so anything is possible.
Anything is certainly possible, and I was just having a research there to see if anything came up, but it says there's 4 definite positive cases, or 4 people are missing tomorrow, but that was 12 hours ago, and there's been no updates in, so I suppose we'll find out in the coming hours exactly to the extent, but yeah, I'm obviously in mind of you too. We had to play Celtic early on in the season with Jimmy Bell on the bench, so yeah, very hard to find sympathy for players. Again, people deserve a life, and I'm not going to criticise people for going to Newcastle and having a day out, but listen, the timing's awful, let's put it that way. It's almost as bad as Celtic going to Dubai during last season's debacle, but anyway.
Somebody said to me, did any Dundee United players come back with their hair braided though? That's the thing.
The thing is, the thing that makes the whole Newcastle thing even more ridiculous. I saw an interview on our local telly last night with the Dundee United manager at Tam Courts, and he said that they knew, basically all the movements of the players, and he was quite disappointed to hear that a whole squad of them a whole pile of them were actually watching the Formula One rather than going out and getting right on it. Now I know he's been flippant, but to me that's not a good look. You know what I mean? Particularly when they probably shouldn't be away under the current circumstances.
No, they shouldn't, and especially at least if you're going away, at least get a good time at. You know what I mean? Not watching cars race around the track. But anyway,
they can do that in Dundee. You know what I mean?
That's true. Now we'll talk about back to Rangers and about the game and the team tomorrow. Now I want to highlight a couple of players because I'm just dying to talk about them in their form since Rio came in. So Cammy, Joe Aribo. We've always known what a player he could be, technical, direct, can score goals, but how about his form the last 6 or 7 games?
He's the freedom that he's got now. I think playing far more centrally. I think he's now influencing games far more consistently. I think the skills and the talents been clear to see since pretty much the day he walked in the door, but he's just not done it on a consistent basis. I think over the last 5-6 games, I think he's been superb. Goals, assists, pulling balls down at the sky. You know, I mean, it's see watching that on Wednesday night, you could see it going up, and I'm going, this, if he controls this like we know he can, it's just going to be one of the things you're going to watch again and again and again. And he's fantastic. He's coming into what's he, 25 now. I'm going to try and not talk about the topical issue with regard to it, but he's been our player of the year up until this point. Even he was the best of the bunch, and I think he's a country mile ahead of everybody else now over the last few weeks, and just playing centrally, playing as a 10, but he still has a bit of freedom to go and affect. I think there's a bit of I like the flexibility within the way that we're playing at the moment. Certainly middle to front. I think that they can all go right or left or wherever they want. I think that's good. But he looks happy and looks such a softly spoken lad. I watched his post-match stuff after the game. There's a brilliant picture of him and Gio, and he's sitting and he looks like a pupil at the head teacher. Man, he just looks such a quiet lad, but I think he's now shown consistently what he can do and make the most of it while we've got him. I think that's the way to look at it for me.
I think you're hitting a couple key points for me there in terms of his positional sense. I think this, where he's playing, I think this 4-2-3-1, if we can call it that, is perfect because wingers are being wingers to a certain degree, and that leaves space for Joe Aribo. For me, when you had these inverted tens, the space was stifled in there because you had either Kent, Aribo, Hadji all trying to operate in the same portion of the field. Now Aribo has got space to flourish in for me, and he's just kicked on. I mean, Wolf, what more can you say about him? He's just, for me, I can see an evolution of a man here in terms of, as Cammy said, he's now winning games for us. Do you agree?
Oh, 100% there. I mean, the point you make about wingers playing as wingers, not inverted tens, is to me spot on. Because not only is the less Rangers players in a congested area, the fact we've got the wingers playing wide, it takes the defenders out and it stretches the defence a bit, giving them an awful lot. When that ball came out the sky on Wednesday night, I mean, the TV pictures don't show just how high the ball went. I mean, it came out like a Polaris missile, just straight out the sky, and he had time to look up, and because it wasn't so congested, there wasn't a player standing on top of him, so he had time to bring it down, and he just killed it stone dead. I couldn't believe what I was watching. I mean, I turned to folk in about me and went, it was one of them, did you see that? And we're all sitting watching it. You know what I mean? It was absolutely fucking outrageous. It was just, and that's the skill he's got. And as Cammy says, it seems to be because he's playing more centrally, and we're spreading the pitch a lot more. He's got a lot more time on the ball, and it's just, he's outrageously talented. And we knew he was talented, but he's just, I don't know, Mr. Van Bronckhorst seems to have just seen something in the way that he plays, and he's sticking him as the 10, and he's persisting with it, and it's working, and he's an absolute joy to watch. And as Cammy says, we really need to enjoy him while we can, because much as I'd like to see him here for a long, long time, I can't see that happening. But we'll make an absolute shed load of money when we do so.
Definitely.
See the one other thing, just a wee extra on the fact that Aribo, I know from people that attended the Brian Laudrup dinner recently, I think one of the questions that Brian was asked was which Rangers player and it was he most impressed by, and it was Joe Aribo. Now, if somebody like Brian Laudrup is basically saying that this guy's a player, then you know he's a player. You know, we know it, but when you get that sort of recommendation from a player who's played at a very, very high level for club and country, then it only shows Probably for another show. I would love him. He's going to play at the top in the English Premiership. There's no doubt at all.
Yeah.
He could go in. But this is probably a bit of a bold statement. He could go into any of the top sides and add to them at the moment. I genuinely believe that. He could go into Liverpool. He could go into Man City. He could go into Chelsea. I'm not saying he would be a starter, but he wouldn't look out of place in any of the way that any of those teams play. I would just love him to extend another year. Get the opportunity to show his stuff in the Champions League next season, and that's the same. That's the same for all the players that are out of contract. But I think he's still going to get that opportunity to play down south. It's just a question of what happens over the next few months. Hopefully, we can get him tied to same way as Glenn Kamara. The opportunity will come, but sign the contract. They get weighed in. We get weighed in when they leave, and everybody's happy. But as we've seen with the manager, it rarely works out the way that you would ideally want it.
Well done for getting through that full chat there without mentioning the C-bomb. That was good.
I done well there, eh?
Very proud of you, Cabby. Very proud of you. Anyway, so Wolf, I want to talk about one more player before we talk about the team itself and how rejuvenated he has been under Van Bronckhorst, and that's Alfredo Morelos. Do you attribute just a change of manager and the manager bounce that some players may get, or do you think the shape is really helping Alfredo flourish at Rangers the last 6 or 7 games?
I think the change of shape, the change of style, I think's helped him greatly. He doesn't seem to be getting asked to go back so much, he is still dropping deep, but not nearly as deep as he was at the start of the season. And he's in and around the box a lot more often, which is where a striker needs to be to score goals. And that, to me, I was getting frustrated with him at Tynecastle last week because he was back defending corners, and a couple of times the ball dropped, especially early on. The ball dropped between him and, I think it was him and Tav or him and Goldson, and they sort of left it to each other. And I'm like, get him out of there because he's a striker and he's just getting in the road. And it was getting I was getting really frustrated with him. I'd quite happily see him never coming back into our box, coming no further back than a halfway line, even if we're defending set plays. But generally speaking, out with defensive set plays, he's not coming nearly as deep as he used to, or as he has been recently, and that's definitely helping his game. And again, the way we're setting up with a winger stretching the defence is giving him more space to actually get the ball and run at folk, which is what he's good at, because he just barrels his way through, and when he's in between the posts, you're always going to bet him to score, aren't you?
Yeah, totally. Cabby's on form for me. He's the best striker in Scotland by quite a distance. Would you agree with that?
Aye, listen, I love Morelos. Have done all the way through. That's 12 goals for the season now. I think it's pretty much something like 5 and 6 since Gio came in. I'm not saying the opposite of Wilf, and I know completely what he's saying about him dropping deep. But see, at Tynecastle, I thought he'd done really, really well. I thought he won a lot of headers for us, and I think he is important at times in the box for us. But I do see the thing. If you hang about the back post, if you hang about the goal, you'll get a goal. It's just, Chris Boyd and sort of goal hangers, Super Ali over the years, they've spoke about it. If you're in the box, and that's what his positioning for the Hearts goal was really, really, really good, and that he just hung about. He didn't really move anywhere, and Fashion picked him out brilliantly. The goal on Wednesday night is just, that's very similar to the header he scored across the city when it was his first goal. Just hanging about at the back post, and he gets the rewards. I have defended Morelos a lot this season. I do still sympathise with the fact that he's only genuinely had a couple of days pre-season training. I don't know if what's been going on during the international breaks and what have you, but I'm not saying I'm fixated by his physical condition, because he is that bustling Buffalo, that sort of situation. But to me, just on the naked eye, he definitely looks as though he has shed a couple of pounds. you can see it in his face as much as anything else. I think that is helping. I would be very surprised if Gio and his people have came in and haven't identified that he just needed to shift a wee bit of timber. It's something that had been a concern of mine, and I think was impacting his performances. But I think we are starting to see the benefits of a leaner and sharper Morelos. His movement's far better, So that's my take on it. I know some people disagree with it, but I do think he does look leaner, and that in turn helps his movement and his overall contribution.
Yeah, totally agree. I'll obviously have my game tonight. I'll be telling my number 9, who's a smashing player, I don't want to see you doing any work out with the width of the posts. From halfway line to 6-yard box, don't be moving out the posts. And that's maybe simple, right? But football is simple. Complicated by idiots, in my opinion. Your number 9 should not be out with the width of the posts, in my opinion, and that's where you get your goals. And to be fair, Morelos seems to be working on that premise. And listen, I think he's only going to go from strength to strength under Gio, and fingers crossed that he continues to go on the form that he does. So, we'll flip to the team now. So we'll just run through the positionally, if you don't mind. So McGregor's obviously kind of, been playing more often than not. Does he keep his place tomorrow, or do we bring in McLaughlin?
Oh no, 100% Greek stays where he is. I mean, I've been banging that drum for months, that part of the reason we're shipping goals is Gerrard kept changing the goalkeeper. Now, I get you bring McLaughlin in for a game like Leon when it's a dead rubber and he needs a game. You may be playing in League Cup games, give him the odd start here and there. But generally speaking, domestically, you've got to have your number 1 keeper in situ all the time. So McGregor's got to play.
Cammy, same mind.
Aye, and I think it's helped. I think it's undoubtedly helped. And McGregor in the last few games has made more saves than I think he had made in the first 3 months of the season. Looks happier. He's shouting at his defenders again and what have you. So somebody's ignited the fire again in Griggsy, and he plays unless it's Scottish Cup against Stirling Albion or a dead rubber game in Europe, as Wilf says.
I think at 39 years of age, I've not reached the years yet, so I'm only guessing here, guys. You can tell me. But I think it must be difficult. It must be difficult to start top, I think. What do you think, Will?
I'll tell you when I get to 39. But yeah, it is quite difficult. I mean, I just think it does. Irrespective of the age, I just think your number 1 goalkeeper should play the majority of the games. You can't just keep chopping and changing it all the time. I mean, it's also helped McGregor that we've got a steady defence in front of him, because due to circumstance, we haven't been able to, rotate the defence even if he wanted to, which I don't think the current management team would be particularly fond of. But even before they came in, we haven't been able to rotate the defence due to injuries and lack of bodies and stuff. So, but I mean, as Cammy says, he started to save shots again. The first 2 or 3 months of the season, he didn't save a shot. Everything that got put at him went in the net for whatever reason.
Yeah,
and he's just you've got to start with your regular goalkeeper all the time.
Yeah, Cammy, I totally agree with that. Can't add to it. McGregor's playing unless he's injured for me up until the winter break. Now, Cammy, defensively, Will's just touched on that. We have been pretty stable through circumstances. Let's be honest, we're missing a few. Are we just keeping the same back 4 tomorrow as we did on Wednesday?
I think we don't have the options, so we have to really, apart from Nathan coming in for Tav, which isn't going to happen because Tav's been solid. I think Connor Golson's been excellent in recent weeks. Calvin Bassey, as much as there's still small elements of his game that need a polish, I think his development over the last few weeks has been fantastic, and I think he played a part in the lead up to the first goal. It was him breaking the. I think he broke forward, and we then won the corner from it, sort of thing. And he plays a game with a smile on his face. I love Big Bassey. He's good. Borna's the only concern that might impact that, because he had an illness. Apparently, that was the issue that had meant he had to go off. I think there was a worry that it was an injury, but certainly the manager seemed to indicate that there was an illness prior to the game, and it was just his energy levels were were depreciated, sort of thing. I think if Bonner misses out, I think Nathan Patterson comes in, and as much as it's not a natural left-sided player, I'm not a great fan of right-sided playing on the left and sort of thing. But I think it then keeps the continuity rather than putting Bassey back to left back and bringing Simpson in. I think you're only making you'd only make one positional change. But if everybody's fit and available, I think it's the same back five. I think because that solid base, I think, is helping us undoubtedly. And I think it's different to the way we've approached it before, but I think it's certainly helped us in recent weeks.
Yeah, I agree. Now, well, the midfield was obviously, Arfield, Kamara, and, we say Arfield, Kamara and Aribo, both on him in that midfield kind of three, if you like. Do you think that'll be the same tomorrow, or do you think there'll be changes?
I'm inclined to say it'll be the same. I don't think there'll be any changes at all, to be honest, from what we had on Wednesday. But I don't know. He might rotate Scott Arfield. I mean, as I said earlier, they don't seem to be, the new management team don't seem to be that keen on just rotating players for the sake of rotating them.
No.
So, but he might, because Scott Arfield's he's not getting any younger. So he might rotate him out, and if he does, he might bring somebody in there. But I think it'll be the same midfield. I expect the same team as Wednesday, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, you've killed my flow a wee bit there, Will. Thanks for that.
That's all right. Pleasure.
Cammy, what do you think, mate? Yeah, it'll be the same midfield setup.
I think so. I think it's interesting. It's just the sort of, we've moved away from the sort of Kamara plus Davis, Kamara plus Lundstrom, Kamara plus Jack, whoever it may be. It's very much one deep lying player, and I think Glenn Kamara, I think Lundstrom has done it when he's came on. Very much almost going into a back three at times. And it's Scotty Arfield for me. If we keep Scott Arfield fit, I think he's the midfield player the only midfield player that we have that does what he does, if that makes sense. I thought he's a lot of good off the ball work and a lot of unseen work, but I think he tries to break forward, tries to get into those break the lines and get in behind sort of situation. So I think we get through the next 4 games and then Scott Arfield gets a wee break, recharge the batteries, and then hopefully kicks on again. But I think only the right hand side. I think Haji's been quite inconsistent. That's the only change I could potentially see. I think the midfield remains the same.
Yeah, what about that then, Cammy? Do you bring Sakala in on the right hand side?
I think that's the only change that you could make. I understand the thought process on Wednesday night. I understand, low block defence. Haji's got that bit of ingenuity that he can manufacture a chance or whatever it may be. But I don't know if he's trying too hard. I don't know if he's too restricted out really, really wide. He doesn't have that same freedom that Joe Aribo's benefiting from. You may see as we move forward, I know this is a preview for tomorrow, but when Aribo goes to the African Cup of Nations, assuming that goes ahead, that's when you might get Haji playing centrally, and that might suit him better. But I think I expect the same 11 to answer the question. I expect the same 11. I think he's going to persist with Haji, and I think as the game goes on, I think you'll see Sakala get the last half hour, assuming all's going. Well, I think he'll get the last half hour, whether we're 2 or 3-0 up, or whether we're needing something to happen, because I think he's a good option off the bench with his pace.
Yeah, I think at this time of year, the amount of fixtures you've got, you need to take into consideration that people may need a rest. However, I'm also of the mind the fact that we've only got a few games left till we get a 2-3 week, well, it's 20 days break, I think it is, between Celtic and Stirling Albion, roughly. I think it is round about that. So I think that, continuity is key at this time. We've got too many games not too many games, sorry, but too many big games coming up the next four. That we need full points. So I'm of the same mind as you too. I would probably bring Sakala in for Hadji, just to freshen up. I think Hadji and Aribo have got to fight it out for the 10, in my opinion, and we've got to recruit a new right winger to push Sakala. That's my opinion going forward. But as I say, we'll see how it goes tomorrow. I wouldn't be too disappointed if Hadji's winning. I mean, just on that, we've not really mentioned Dundee United much apart from the COVID issues. Obviously, they're having a half decent season. You know, they're fourth in the table. However, what's your prediction for tomorrow? Are we going to be 7 points ahead of our nearest rivals? And if so, what's the score going to be?
Well, you say they're fourth. I'm just looking at the table just now, and you're right, they are fourth, but they've got a -4 goal difference. They've only scored 15 goals this season.
Yeah.
You know, in 18 games. I mean, that's poor by anybody's standards.
And they've lost 7 out of 18 as well, by the way.
They've won 7, lost 7, and drew 4. Yeah. So, I mean, they're there to be beat. We're 0-1 from earlier in the season because we should never have lost at Tannadice. Well, we should have lost at Tannadice because we were absolutely honking. But you know what I mean. We shouldn't be going to Tannadice and rolling over like that. So we're 0-1, and well, as I said, we're a better football side than them. So I fully expect us to beat them and beat them quite easily. Hopefully they'll come out and fancy it, because if they do, I would expect us to destroy them. You know, if they come in, if they come and sit in, we'll struggle to break them down, but we will break them down and we'll win by a couple. But if they come at us, I can see us being fairly comfortable fairly early, and then it's just down to whether the manager's mindset is, well, 2-0's enough, and we'll just see what happens after that, or if he just goes for it. Because bear in mind, we've got an 8-day break. We don't have a midweek game next week, which is unusual.
Great. Yeah,
which is great. So you can just, you know, you can take a leaf out of Stephen Gerrard's book and say, look guys, just go out there and empty the tank, and then you get a couple of days off, and then we'll come back. So, you know, come back and worry about the game on Boxing Day.
Yep, agree.
So, are you looking for a prediction? Right, okay. Right, okay. Well, as you know, I never ever predict Rangers to lose a goal, and I'm not going to change from that. So I'm going to go with the same prediction I had for Wednesday, and it was wrong on Wednesday. 4-0 to the Rangers.
We'll take that all day, Wilf. Now, Cammy, obviously the best team ever to be second in the league aren't playing at the weekend, so how important is it to get that victory and go 7 points ahead? And if we do, what's your prediction?
What is it they call it? Scoreboard pressure. I think that's you get the points on the board. I think I think Wilf referenced the break, and we go back to what we were talking about, changing the team. I think the players have got an opportunity with no midweek fixture. That mob have to play midweek after the cup final, which isn't ideal for them at all, sort of situation, sure. You know. So hopefully the cup final goes to extra time and penalties, and but I fancy us to win 4-0 as well. I think this might be the day where we actually get a scoreline that reflects the amount of chances that we're creating. I think Ryan Kent will score the first goal, so I'll go Kent and 4-0 would be my prediction.
Yeah. Well, if you're looking for a first goal scorer, I'm gonna go completely off the wall and say Calvin Bassey from a corner.
Okay, hey, listen, get a pound on that. Responsibly, but listen, you'll be paid for your Christmas. But listen, thanks very much, guys, for joining us today for the Dundee United preview. It's been a pleasure. As always, this will be going out on Patreon this afternoon. Once Martin does a wee bit of work, get some editing done. So again, thank you very much for listening to the Rangers Rabo Dundee United preview show. Cheers.